Well, good morning and welcome. Today is August the 20th, and it's another episode of Ascension with A Course in Miracles. And Paula, since I know this is your first time here, this particular series has been going on for years now. I think like I'm in my probably fifth year. And it's always on Wednesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. And it is called Ascension with A Course in Miracles. And what happens here is that this is really a transmission. I receive this guidance, I receive these messages, and I don't prepare for this. I just come and whatever wants to flow through me, whatever wants to be transmitted through me gets transmitted. So today is episode 211. And I just always feel so honored that I get to do this. And of course, welcome back to those who keep coming back, Miss Susie, Miss Stacy, and whoever joins us. So if you are new to participating in these events, this is called Ascension with A Course in Miracles. My entire goal in offering these Wednesday transmissions, and I'm really weepy, and I'll explain why I'm so emotional today. But the reason that I have been sharing these is because, and I was told to call it Ascension with A Course in Miracles, is because, hey, Richard, good to see you. Um, Humanity is in the process of ascending if it wants to. This is key. We are at a time where we are in a very unique situation. This, my understanding, and I listen to other teachers who channel, this has never happened before like this, except for Jesus. Jesus was the only one who did it and gave us a Course in Miracles so that we could do the same thing he did now. And that is to choose to awaken while we are still in our human form, meaning we have a wonderful opportunity to remember that we are one with God and be the living, walking, breathing expressions of what God is. And in my experience, not only my encounter with the divine, that this happened back in 2007, and it was so absolutely startling for me, and it altered me. It's almost 20 years ago. It totally transformed me. Hello, Miss Natalia. Welcome back from your trip, sweetie. Good to see you. But we need to understand intellectually, our minds must be trained into understanding what God is. And experientially, we need to allow the essence of what God is to awaken in us, to come out of us, to come through us. That is how the kingdom is extended, is when we become what lights the way for others to see. Jesus, 2000 plus years ago, came and told us that he was the way, meaning he was showing us the way. He discovered that he and God are one. He was teaching everybody through the example of how he treated everyone, prostitutes, thieves. It didn't matter to him. He treated everybody with love and kindness and respect. He saw everybody as a brother or a sister in Christ. He's been called Jesus, Jesus Christ, the Christ. He's not the only Christ because Christ is the recognition of our oneness with God. So Jesus it can be known as someone who experienced that Christ consciousness, that awareness that he and God are one. We can do that too. He told us that, we could do it. He came to show us the way, expecting us to do the same thing. 2,000 years have passed, and humanity has been, little by little moving towards this time right now that we have been preparing for. Course in Miracles came to us 50 plus years ago for this time to train our minds, to prepare ourselves to know who we are. We are holy beings. And I'm weepy because I was experiencing the presence of God before I came on. we completed a series last time, so I never follow a specific order. I always do whatever it is that I'm inspired to bring about in these conversations. And I was taken today to lesson 35. So today we're going to look at my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. So as I was sitting with being led to that lesson, I was sitting with my holiness and in such gratitude that I have been training my mind. My mind is part of God's. I don't think with my ego hardly ever. That is just not part of my ongoing reality. Now, do I have egoic thoughts? Yes. The ego throws in a few doozies from time to time. The beliefs that I'm separate, the beliefs that I'm better than, the beliefs that I'm not good enough, that those things they creep in from time to time, hardly ever though. And because my mind is so quiet, I can see it and I can go, oh, all right, old friend, go back down, sit down. I don't need to listen to you. The only thing that gives us power over the ego is our awareness that we can disregard it, is our recognition that we don't have to listen to it, our understanding, because the mind has been trained in the knowing that egoic thoughts are regurgitated thoughts. We have learned it from other people. They are not original, they are not creative, they are programmed. No different than you take a recording and you start recording information in there. Those thoughts that you record, that's the ego in your mind. It's what you have recorded over time. Starting as an impressionable young child, you begin to record beliefs, ideas, and that becomes who you are. If you are a child and you grow up in a Catholic environment, you are going to believe the Catholic stuff. That's going to be your religion. You take that same child, adopt it into a Chinese family, not only is it going to talk Chinese, but it is not going to believe that's the Catholic beliefs if it's not part of its new environment. You take that child and you raise it in some country in Africa that speaks Swahili, that child will speak Swahili. So how can you take one child, and these examples exist everywhere, where little babies that are twins get adopted into two totally different places. I know families who have adopted a Chinese child and brought it to the US, and that other Chinese child maybe was adopted in China or was adopted in Japan or was adopted in Uruguay. So wherever they go, that's what they speak. And they learn what those parents teach them. So we have to get really clear. Our minds are programmable. Now, what programming are you running? That is the question. We have been preparing since the time of Jesus incarnating. We have been given information in so many ways to prepare us for this time of ascension. It is a unique time where we get to wake up and remember the truth of who we are while we are in physical form. Listen, everybody that dies, that has a death experience, realizes on the other side, oh my gosh, this worldly experience, that's not reality. It's not the ultimate reality with a capital R. It is an experience that we get to have. No different than we go to the amusement park and we get to ride a roller coaster. It's an experience that you get to have. You choose it. Coming to planet Earth, choosing to believe that we're separate from God is an experience that we are choosing. But we were not taught these things when we were growing up because there weren't enough conscious people on the planet yet to be able to have that mass awakening before we were born, and so that our parents could have been awake. So it is happening with us. We are the generation that is leading the charge. I'm going to call us the baby boomers who are waking up, and not all baby boomers are waking up, but the baby boomers that were chose to incarnate and chose to wake up and activate that Christ consciousness, meaning remember that we are one with God, moving out of duality and seeing God as separate from us and seeing good and bad and evil and as part of the game that we were playing as a reality. We are waking up to choose what is it that we want to believe. And one of the most important things that we must believe is that God is love, God is good, and God is not outside of us, like we have been told. God is not on a cloud. God is not on a mountain. God is not over there somewhere, hither, yonder, whatever. God is inside of each and every one of us because we are made of the substance that God is. That substance, that intelligence, that essence of what God is simply a powerful creative source. It is infinitely creative. It is constantly expressing itself, extending itself. You and I are the opportunity for that to happen. At the same time, that creative source allows for us to choose not to create a relationship with it. It just like a child can choose not to have a relationship with its parent. I have one of those children right now. It's, my son Tony that we adopted when he was 6 years old. He has chosen that he doesn't want to be communicating with any of us. His brother, my birth son, I've got two birth children and one adopted child. And Spencer, my birth child, went and saw him and talked to him and even gave him a phone. Tony said he didn't have a phone. And Spencer went and bought him a phone and said, here, and programmed mom and dad's and the siblings' phone numbers in there. We haven't heard from Tony. He doesn't want to communicate. It's okay. I'm not going to stop loving him, and I'm not going to stop always being available if he chooses to come home. If he chooses to return and connect, I am always going to be here. I'm not going to judge his journey. That is conscious parenting. That is what God, the consciousness that God is, that's how it treats us. That's why in the Bible we have the story of the prodigal son. So we are at a time right now, and this has been, not only has it been prophesied, if you look at religious information, it's been prophesied. If you listen to spiritual channels, it was talked about by Edgar Casey in the early 1900s. It was talked about by Dolores Cannon. If you follow her work, she did an incredible amount of, she developed a process of doing regressions and taking people into connecting with their Christ consciousness. And it was people inside of a hypnotic state were sharing that this is the time. There are three waves of beings who have incarnated, and every one of us has a particular role. The role that I'm speaking to is we were one of the first ones who choose to awaken in mass, meaning hundreds of thousands, if not millions, were going to begin to remember that there is another way. Course in Miracles was written for those who were ready to begin to pay attention to that. Course in Miracles began to be available in the early 70s, and groups began to form. Lots of people were studying A Course in Miracles. And of course, it was so wild and out there at the time, but it was preparing minds to move out of duality, to move out of seeing everything as good and bad, and God being loving and also an angry father, and to begin to create a singular perspective about God. And that has to be that God is love, that God is the source that we're all made of. We are being invited right now to wake up while we are still incarnated, while we're still inside of these physical vessels, so that we can bring that light to the world that desperately needs that light. And I use the word desperately loosely because everybody here is a soul choosing to be here. Some are choosing to descend. Some are choosing to go into the lowest realms of separation from God, to go into the most darkest places that they can go. Some are choosing to go into deep into drugs, into depression, into doing things that would be considered by one who is loving, like just totally incomprehensible, like moving into paths of deception, of lying, of cheating, of corruption, of murdering, of raping, of doing things that are just unimaginable to one who comes to know the truth of who we are. But It is a choice that we have. And when we are given that choice by a loving parent like God is, we are never judged for what we are given permission to go and explore, because every one of us has to go to wherever we need to go, however low we need to go to experience the disconnection from God. And in that, the low for us, and everybody's low is going to be different, that is where we find the contrast between that which is dark, that which is not true, and our desire to return to the light, to return what is true, to remember the holiness of who we are. So everybody's contrast is going to be different. And it is different based on our level of consciousness. If your awakening is happening in this incarnation, is because in past incarnations you went as low as you needed to go. So in this incarnation, you don't have to go that low. Maybe you don't have to do murdering and raping and lying and cheating and be in jail. Maybe in this lifetime you don't need that. Maybe in this lifetime all you need is the death of a parent, or the drug use of a child, or maybe just you start waking up and because you realize, okay, I need to change things. Maybe you do drugs or alcohol, you have some form of addiction, but you don't have to linger in that very long. Some people have to go that low. And again, every incarnation is an opportunity to descend. So if you're ascending, it's because you already went down as low as you needed to go. Now you're in the process of returning home. You're that prodigal child coming back home. Course in Miracles shows us how to do that. It's a how-to manual to train your mind out of the programming, because that's all that it is. Programming that had you believe you're less than who you are. Programming that was pure lies given to us by those many who had no idea that they were teaching us lies, because it's what their mother taught them and their father taught them. It's what their religious taught them. And my mother got her information from her mother, and my grandmother got it from her mother, and my great great grandmother got it from her mother. So, and all of these people were good, loving people, hardworking. Nobody did anything uh, that was terrible, except from on my grandfather's side. There's some ugly stuff there. However, we are, for the most part, given misinformation by people who had no idea they were handing down misinformation, which is why we need to become very kind and compassionate and forgiving of what we learned. Everybody was doing, for the most part, the best that they could with what they had. There is a portion of, excuse me, of beings who have chosen to descend into darkness. The Bible calls this, the devil or Satan. It doesn't matter what you call it, it's ego. That's all that it is. It's a mind that is choosing to separate from God and go as dark as it can. And there is a role for that. There is a very important role for darkness, because darkness is the absence of light. And if you're allowing yourself to experience 90% light, you're going to have 10% darkness. You're going to be able to see through the lies pretty quickly. If you're operating with 10% light, meaning you're breathing, you're alive, there's light there, clearly, you have people that maybe you love, people that love you, but your mind is filled with 90% programming that is dark, that you're not good enough, that if you rise to positions of power, that you have power over others. If you are in positions where you feel powerless, that you are a victim to the world that you see. If you're operating in that 90% darkness, the world looks really different than someone who's operating with only 10% darkness. So we have to understand, where are we? Are we here seeing very little of what is true? Or have we risen? Have we trained our mind and we're operating in the higher consciousness that we are seeing the world through the eyes of God? So we have to get really honest about, where are we on this journey? And I'll tell you, most spiritual people lie to themselves. I know it. I've been there, done that. We lie to ourselves. Religious people lie to themselves. And here's the thing. When you're all religious and you think you're better than because you paid your 10% and you go to church on Sundays and definitely on Christmas and on Easter, and but everybody else is a sinner, everybody else is bad, and you sit there on your holy throne and we're judging other people. Well, that's not love. It's not love. But in your mind, you think that because you did those things that you were programmed to do, like go to church on Sunday and tithe, that you're somehow a good person. And we have to get honest about that. Then you become spiritual. Let's say you leave the church and now God is only love. And you're all about love and light and kumbaya. And you sit on your spiritual pedestal, judging everybody who is not as awake and who doesn't speak in the same way or who doesn't understand God the way you understand God. And I'm speaking from experience. I've been that Christian. I've been that spiritual person that moves onto a pedestal because I've got all this spiritual knowledge. But if it's not in your heart, you have not awakened the Christ consciousness within. If you cannot love everybody and recognize that they are where they are because at a soul level, that's where they want to be. And this is very difficult for humans to understand that no matter where you are in the light or in the darkness, it is by choice because darkness is a state of mind. It is a mind that does not remember the truth of who they are. Why would you judge someone who doesn't remember? In their journey, they are still a soul experiencing that incarnation by choice. The course is really clear. The script is written. We chose to incarnate to have these experiences, and now we have the teachings of Jesus, which they were given to us 2,000 years ago, but they did not get handed down. They're not part of what's in the Bible because we have to use discernment. The Bible was created by humans who put in what they wanted into the Bible and left out what was not convenient. Because you have to understand that those who want to control humanity are operating primarily from their ego, and they're going to do everything they can to operate in that level of control. Programming. So we are at a time right now where the window has opened up for us to choose to utilize this time of acceleration to decide, and this requires radical honesty. Are you ascending or are you going to continue to either remain or descend into darkness? That means, are you willing to accept that you are holy? Are you willing to accept that you are the light of the world? If you are, you've got to do the process of purification. You have to forgive yourself for doing what you didn't know you were doing. You have to accept without reservation that you are loved. You are loved by the Most High. And the Most High is not because it's higher than you. The Most High is because it's the highest frequency that exists, and it's the frequency of love, and it is in you to access. But you have to train your mind to access that. You can't believe that I'm not good enough and access the light of God. You can't. Those are opposing frequencies. If you think you're not good enough, you have to do the work of finding out, where the heck did I begin to learn that? Who taught me that I'm not good enough? Go through the process of taking an inventory of who taught you things that had you believe that there's something less about you than how God created you. And forgive those people who taught you that. And forgive yourself for believing what is not true. And come to with real curiosity and radical honesty to want to come to know what God is. What is it that has you be alive? Get to know the essence, the energy, the power of what pulses inside of you. That is the life force, the essence of the creative source. That's why God is not out there. God is in here. And when you make peace with the truth of who you are, then you begin to express that. You cannot not be loving when you know that you're made of love. You cannot not be peaceful when you remember the truth of who you are, and your mind is no longer filled with all the crazy chatter of the ego. When all that mind, the mind quiets, all you're left with is a knowingness of your magnificence and everybody else's. That's why you're at peace. You can't be judging anybody else because you know they either remember or they don't remember. Why would you judge somebody who doesn't remember? They don't remember because their mind has been hijacked, filled with information that is not true. This is a course in training our mind to sort out the lies from the truth, to sort out that which is egoic and made up for the purpose of control. That's all that the ego does, is attempting to control our experience as as far away from God as it can be. That's why we're experiencing separation. So we're training our mind so that in these body vessels, we can turn on the light and then shine it out so that we can see that which is holy everywhere. The world is bifurcating. It already has happened. You are either experiencing seeing more of the goodness because you've trained your mind to remember, or you're still seeing more of what is ugly, meaning you've got some work to do, you've got some cleaning up to do, you've got to do that purification, change your mind, begin to question every thought, every belief that you have that tells you that there is anything less than pure perfection out there, because the out there is a reflection of the in here. If you see darkness there, the work is to look at is there darkness in you? Where are there lies in you that are being projected out there? Right now, we can look at this world. Right now, year 2025, you can look at the world and I can see the wars, I can see the destructions, I can see things that are taking place to bring about peace. I can see that. If you become spiritual and you move on this trajectory of ascension, you don't become stupid. You become more clear and you can see that which is unloving. The difference is where the old me would have been so quick to judge, oh, I'm better than those people. I'm spiritual, I'm Christian, I'm blah, 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 blah. And I even had a little period of time that I was atheist. I was always the on top of the heap, no matter what belief I had. But when you fall off of that high and mighty pedestal and we humble ourselves to really recognize, I don't know what anything is for, and you allow God to inform you, you begin to remember. You begin to remember things. They call it ahas, but it's really a remembering what is true. And you begin to recognize that you are the bringer of that love and that light to this world. And it is not about going out there and preaching and saving anybody and fixing anybody. That's not part of my reality anymore. But it is a recognizing that you have a light, a peace, a presence that begins to resonate with others. And that vibration attracts those who are interested in that. If they don't want to hear what you have to say, they're not going to ask you. Don't go preaching, but become one who is consistently loving and kind and generous and compassionate and open-minded and tolerant and faithful to what God is all about, no matter who you're with and no matter where you go. That will resonate and will attract those who are like-minded, who want to know, how do I move from this track and go to this track? There's still time to move, but the trains have left the station. You can still jump trains because we're still pretty close to each other. Richard, I'm sure you like this analogy since you were your profession was with trains. You can still jump that train, but the tracks are moving further apart. As the years go by, between 2030, 2032, we're going to be in opposite directions. You can't jump from here to here. And nobody in their right mind is going to jump from here to here. When you are in peace and love and gentleness and kindness, you don't want chaos and insanity and craziness. But when you're in craziness, you're going to want what's peaceful. So while there's still time, while there's still the opportunity to train your mind and jump ship, if you will, mix of metaphors here, jump trains, you have the opportunity to do that. But the window is closing. And the reason the window is closing is because we cannot have such separate frequencies on the same planet or in the same experience because they're too far apart. It just becomes the kind of thing that you have nothing to talk about. You won't even attract each other. You won't even be going to the same places. Somebody who operates in high frequency doesn't go to places where there is, drinking and drugging and abusing people and lying. With your consciousness clear on the truths of who we are, you don't go do those things that are not loving. So there is a clear separation taking place in the material, the law of one, the material channel by given to us by Ra. It says that we are coming upon the time of harvest where the wheat and the chaff are separating. That is also stated in the Bible. Course in Miracles is letting us know that we are either choosing the light or we are going to remain in the darkness. Not because anybody's being punished, but because we are creators of our reality. And understanding what it's like to live as the Christ consciousness that we are, it's spelled out in the Course in Miracles in what is known as the manual for teacher. And it gives us the characteristics of one who operates at that level of frequency. So I'm offering a class called, the 10 characteristics of a teacher of God. It's going to be a 12-week class. It starts next week on August, I believe it's the 28th. And it's a free, anybody can participate. You just have to be a member inside of my Awareness Academy. And I'll put the links inside of the description of this video. But if you know what those characteristics are, now you have a roadmap, if you will. If you're not operating in trust, then you're operating in deception. You're listening to a lie. Because if you know the truth of who you are, you will trust that all is well. You will trust that the path is set before you to move in this direction. And everything that happens that creates an irritation is simply an invitation for you to clear what does not belong, to move into a higher frequency. If you don't understand about trust, if you don't understand what it means to be tolerant, to be generous, to be joyful, according to what God knows is true, specifically Jesus giving this to us, if you don't understand that, then you don't have a gauge. So it's like you're traveling without a map. But the characteristics of a teacher of God are a map. So let's look at lesson 35, the importance of this lesson. And we're not going to read the whole lesson because there are some instructions for somebody who is going to be doing that lesson, some instructions to follow. And I'm not really going to get into that all the way, but we'll look at in general. So my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. Today's idea does not describe the way you see yourself now. It does, however, describe what vision will show you. If you have the vision that the Course in Miracles is attempting for you to experience, you will see through your holy eyes. You will see everybody as a holy child of God that either remembers that they're holy or forgot. Nobody to judge, simply to acknowledge, oh, these people remember. That's why they're behaving lovingly. That's why they're doing the things that they're doing. These people don't remember, or they're somewhere on the journey to shifting and lifting out of forgetting. So everybody's either in the process of wanting to rise in consciousness, remembering that they're holy, or they're in the process of forgetting that they're holy and they're lowering their frequency because they can. Sentence number 3. It is difficult for anyone who thinks he is in this world, seeing all the things that we see, to believe this of himself. Yet the reason he thinks he is in this world is because he does not believe it. That is a very simple, plain, powerful statement. And this speaks directly to programming. If you believe you are holy, you operate in a certain way. If you believe you're not holy, there's something wrong with you, you're damaged, you're not good enough, you're poor, you're whatever, you believe differently. Those perceptions need to be looked at. Also, we need to look at those who believe that they're holy, but treat everybody else unholy. That is a mind that knows that truth, but their heart is not open. Their heart is not extending that. They've moved up on a spiritual pedestal somewhere and think, oh yeah, I'm holy because I go to church, or I read, 47 books on spirituality, so I'm holy. And they can regurgitate the Bible and they can regurgitate the Course in Miracles, but they still have not opened their heart and extend that to others. So they don't see it out there, they just believe it for themselves. So we are somewhere on that trajectory. We have no idea that we're holy and we operate very unholy. We know about holiness, but only for us, not for others, only in our club, not in others. Or we're doing the work to move out of our head and into our heart with that truth so that we can have that vision and we can see it in everybody else with compassion and realize, as the Course tells us, everything is a call for love or love. Either you are holy and you see holiness, don't change a thing. You're right where you need to be. Or you recognize holiness and you see those who are not behaving holy, they're calling for love. They're calling for you to see their holiness. That is how God is using those who are waking up to bring about the truth to the masses. That's why Jesus said we were going to do greater works than he could, because Jesus is inspiring one of us at a time. And then we go out there and we do this with many, many more. Paragraph 2. You will believe that you are part of where you think you are. If you look out at the world and you think, oh my God, this place is going to hell in a handbasket, then you are part of what you believe and think you are. And this is so key. If you are seeing things as bad out there, it's because you're projecting that inside, what inside of you believes is still bad. And this is such a tricky place to be, where you're using discernment and realize, okay, things are getting crazy, but I recognize that it is by choice. And because I don't know what anything is for, I don't know what anybody's journey is, I'm not going to judge it. God, where would you like for me to serve? God, what would you like for me to do? What would you like for me to say? You're open to whoever is coming into your reality, wherever you happen to be the one who brings the generosity, the kindness, the open-mindedness, the tolerance, because you recognize, okay, this world that we are inside of and we are experiencing as out there, we are the bringers of the light. We recognize the role that we're playing, not to go save anybody, but to turn your light on like a lighthouse. You know, lighthouses are not saving boats out of the water, but they stand firm so that boats can save themselves. They can see the light and go towards the light. They can move out of the stormy seas. Boy, I'm really mixing metaphors. I've got trains, planes, and boats and automobiles. Anyhow, it is what it is because you can use so many different metaphors here. We are at a time where we have an opportunity to find the truth in who inside of us and then shine it so that others can find the truth in them, not because they're broken, but simply because they are choosing to do a U-turn. They are ready to return to the truth of who they are. So you will believe what you are part of, where you think you are. Are you in a world that is an opportunity for ascension, or are you in a world that is going to hell in a handbasket? That is going to determine your consciousness. That is because you surround yourself with the environment you want, and you want it to protect the image of yourself that you have made. The image is part of this environment. What you see while you believe you are in it, um, in it, let me read that again. What you see while you believe you are in it, it seems, I keep saying seems, is seen through the eyes of the image. This is not vision. Images cannot see. So sorry, I butchered that up. We have to understand we have been programmed, and our programming is projecting the world that we believe based on our programming. You grow up with religious programming and you see out there the world that religion has taught you. God is up there on a cloud and there are sinners and good people, bad people, and evil and blah, blah, blah. If you are operating from the truth of like a teaching, like A Course in Miracles, you just simply see souls that believe that they're separate from God, that have incarnated and are on different levels of consciousness. But everybody is a child of God. Everybody is a prodigal child. As soon as they want to return home, they can. And once you have begun the process of ascending, you have made the U-turn and you're returning home. Now You know the steps that it takes. You know it's not an easy journey. It's simple, but it's not easy. And it's not easy because you have to totally change your mind about what you've been believing. And to change your mind about what you've been believing is a process that takes time. The Course tells us we're using time to undo what got built over time. You've been here for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years. That's a lot of years of programming that you must deprogram. And you don't deprogram all at once. It'd be nice if we could just get a lobotomy and get all that out of your head, but it doesn't work that way. And it doesn't work that way because there's joy in the journey. And the experience of having an irritation and having a judgment and having a fear come up and looking at it, oh, where did this come from? And going through that process is actually a very gentle process that moves us on this path of recovering the truth of who we are. It is a recovery of who you are. You're recovering. You're going in there and saving, not saving, you're going in there and accessing who you are. So it is not vision to see a world that is in suffering. Vision is to recognize the holiness in everybody, see their innocence, and remember they have free will just like you, and they are wherever they are on their journey just like you. They are not wrong. They are just on a frequency that may not be a frequency you want, but you cannot judge it as wrong because they have to be on that frequency to have the journey that they need to have. And we don't know how low people need to go. We need to respect that that is an individual thing, but we can stand as the beacon for whenever they're ready, if they're ready to ask you. And most of us, we're not going to have the people closest to us or family ask us about how to get peaceful and happy. They probably think we're oddities, we're crazy people. They'll find somebody else. But there are so many on the planet right now that there is plenty of lighthouses all over the place to help everybody. Paragraph 3. So the idea for today presents a very different view of yourself. Let's just sit for a second. I invite you to find that holy place in you. Some of you may go to it instantaneously because you've practiced this. Some of you may still have jitters. What? There's nothing holy in me. Some of you may be confused. What? Holiness inside of me? No, I can't be holy. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad parent. I'm a bad sibling. I'm a bad whatever. Wherever you are on your path is exactly where you need to be, since that's where you are. And just playing with the idea, as it says in here, my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. You are an idea in the mind of God. God created you. If you are here, it's because God wanted you here. It's our job to accept the God that is the real God, the God of our understanding, not the programmed information about God that scares so many of us. As a child, I was petrified of God. It was a God that was going to turn people into pillars of salt. I was petrified of that God. I didn't want anything to do with that God. As an adult, I came to soothe my little girl that was scared of God. When as an adult, I began to feel God. And it was the most loving, the most beautiful, the most amazing thing I'd ever experienced. The closest to what God is what I feel in the presence of my little grandchildren. Pure, boundless joy, creativity, love, unconditional. Until little kids get programmed, they still operate in such beautiful innocence. They're willing to go with anybody. They don't judge anybody by color, by religion, by stature, by financial. They don't know any of that. Their minds are not programmed with any of that divisiveness. And when we let ourselves feel, what is that holiness in me? And make that our regular practice, you begin to feel For some, it may be a tingling. For some, it may be a lightheadedness because you're moving, you're raising your vibration pretty quickly and you get lightheaded. It's like a natural buzz because you're beginning to feel something that is not of this world. It's not of this ego-made world. It is so beautiful, so pure, so powerful that it does leave us a little woozy when we begin to first experience that, and then it becomes so natural. And then you can be like Jesus. You can walk among this world saying crazy things like it's okay to love the prostitutes. And when you start saying God is inside of you and the church wants you to believe, no, God's outside of you, because if God's outside of you, then you got to come through us to get to God. Well, that was very inconvenient for the church at that time. So what do? They crucify him because we got to get rid of the people who are telling the truth. And even that, he turned it into such a beautiful lesson to show I'm not a body, I am free. You can crucify this body vessel because the relationship that we are creating is with the holiness inside of us that transcends the body. It moves beyond the body when the body is no longer of use. But while you have a body and you remember your holiness, you infuse that body with that high frequency. You will then become a vessel. You become that lighthouse. You become one who emits another way. The idea for today presents a very different view of yourself. By establishing your source, it establishes your identity and it describes you as you must really be in truth. Your pure holiness inside of a body vessel. No different than when you get in your car, you drive your car. You're not your car. You're driving a car. You're not your body. You're driving the body. But are you driving your body with the knowingness that you are wholly emitting light? Or are you driving your body vessel with beliefs that have been programmed that you're better than anybody else or you're lesser than anybody else and you're emitting darkness? And the reason you're emitting darkness is because your light's not shining. So you're putting off a vibe of stinginess or fear or worry or concern or superiorness or inferiorness. That's what darkness is an absence of light. Sentence number 3 says, we will use a somewhat different kind of application for today's idea because the emphasis for today is on the perceiver rather than on what he perceives. You must look at yourself as the perceiver of the world that you see. Are you perceiving it through your holiness? Are you perceiving it through your eyes darkened by lies? Are you looking at the world because you believe that it's bad? Then you're operating with a cover over your eyes. You can't see the light in others because you have covered the light in you. It's not shining through you. Paragraph 4 says, and this gets into the applications of the exercise. So for each of the 3 5-minute practice periods today, begin by repeating today's idea to yourself, and then close your eyes and search your mind. That's the only place you're going to search. You're not going to search your elbow. You search your mind for the various kinds of descriptive terms in which you see yourself. You sit there, you close your eyes, and you allow the ego to talk to you. It's always doing that, but now you're the observer, observing the thoughts that are coming up. And it says here, include all the ego-based attributes which you ascribe to yourself, positive and negative, desirable or undesirable, grandiose or debased. All of them are equally unreal because you do not look upon yourself through the eyes of holiness. In the earlier part of the mind searching period, you will probably emphasize what you consider to be the more negative aspects of your perception of yourself. I'm not good enough. I'm poor. I'm stressed out. I'm anxious. I'm worried. I'm alone. I have no friends. I have no job. Those are going to be the first things that are going to come up. Toward the latter part of the exercise period, however, more self-inflating descriptive terms may well cross your mind. Try to recognize that the direction of your fantasies about yourself does not matter. Illusions have no direction in reality. They are merely not true. So you start with, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not, and then the ego starts saying, but I'm so good to these people and they took advantage of me. I'm such a wonderful person. I am so caring, and yet they didn't give me the job. And I am so creative, and they, passed me over for the promotion. And I can't believe that partner left me. I was so good to them. So we'll put ourselves on a pedestal, how great we are, and we will put ourselves down in the dumps about how bad it is. That's because the ego goes in all these different directions. It has highs and lows. And that's why we have to understand that listening to the ego is an addiction. To the high thoughts, oh, I'm so wonderful. Oh, I'm spiritual. To the low thoughts, well, I've been so spiritual. Why aren't things changing? So we've got to understand that this is a journey of training yourself. The you that is awakening is the you that wants things to be different, that recognizes I have work to do. The work is always, 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 always going to be about looking at the thoughts in your mind that block your heart from opening. All the thoughts of grandiosity or the thoughts of how bad you are, all of those thoughts are distractions from the peace that you will feel when you let your mind go blank and you begin to feel for that holiness within you. Because when you feel that holiness, for a while it's disoriented because you haven't felt that level of just unconditional love, feeling it from God to you. You have to acclimate. We have to adjust to that level of unconditional love, that kindness, that compassion, that open-mindedness, that tolerance that begins to get activated, that trust that all is well because you're feeling it inside of you. And then you little by little adjust how you show up in the world. But once you are committed to accept that you are in the mind of God, you cannot not be anywhere other than in God's imagination. If you're here, God imagined you here. God wants you here. God loves us so much. That creative source loves us so much that it has imagined us. My little grandbabies have, imagine. My little grandson was the other day imagining this character that was in the house playing with us. It's in his mind. He wanted that there, and he could describe it. He wanted it there. God can describe us. It wants us here. So we have to accept that we're in the mind of God. We have to humble ourselves, get off of our pedestals, and begin to accept where we are. We are one of gazillions, because it's infinite, ideas in the mind of God. Everyone just as equally valid, equally desirable, equally wanted. And then we are given free will. We can decide, am I in the mind of God pretending that I'm not, pretending that I'm in California, pretending that I'm in Boston, pretending that I'm in Africa, pretending that I'm in Europe? And then that's what I'm seeing, and I'm lost now in the illusion that this is the world that is real, forgetting where I really truly am, because that's all that has happened to us. There's a reality, capital R, of where we are in the mind of God. But with an untrained mind, we are pretending that we are in the lower case reality, little r reality, pretending I'm over here or I'm over there. This is not easy. It tells us right in here that this is not an easy thing to do because our mind is so trained to believe things that are not true. And while our mind is believing illusions, then we are creating a world that we're giving power to that is creating a lot of suffering because it's away from love. The further away from love we go, the suffering increases more. The more pain and dysfunction there is, the less light that we have access to. So all those people who are doing things that are very unloving, we need to begin to have compassion for them. They can't access that light in them because they're listening to the voice of their ego that is telling them all kinds of things that are not true. We are at a time where we have a very important decision to make. Are you going to really want to know what it's like to live as the Course calls it a teacher of God, one who teaches that you found God inside by being an example of that? Is that what you want? Or are you dabbling with spirituality, but you're not quite ready to let go of the world that you see because it's so seductive? Chasing the money, chasing the people, chasing the fame or the whatever is so seductive. And you still want to be spiritual, so you're reading the books or you're, going to the workshops. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. But there is no way to experience the freedom, the peace that comes, the joy that comes to one who aligns only with God and accepts their holiness. There is absolutely no way to experience the peace that passes all understanding and a joy that is absolutely indescribable unless you're 100% committed to owning your holiness and recognizing that everybody's made the same. As long as we think I'm holy, but you're not, it's in our head, it's not in our heart. To see the holiness in another is because you have really found the holiness within you and you're seeing through the eyes of God. When we think that we're holy, but other people are not, we're seeing through the eyes of our spiritualized ego. The ego is right, we're holy, but it's not projecting holiness on others. So it's only operating from a place of selfishness, because that's what the ego is. All selfishness. Oh, great. What can I have that nobody else has? So this is an invitation to take a lesson like this, sit with it, do what the lesson tells you. On the next paragraph, paragraph 6, it gives us examples of some of the thoughts that are going to come into our mind. I see myself as imposed on, as depressed, as failing, endangered, helpless, victorious, losing out, charitable, or virtuous. So it's just examples of what's in our mind. And it's in paragraph 7, it's letting us know that we're going to have experiences that are about situations, about our personality, about events, whatever crosses your mind, bring it into your conscious awareness. But after you have named each one of those things, after you call them out, then remind yourself, but my mind is part of God's I am very holy. I'm better than so and so, but my mind is part of God's I am very holy. I'm depressed, but my mind is part of God's I'm very holy. I'm angry, but my mind is part of God's I'm very holy. You see what's happening is that we're training our mind with the truth so that we can begin to see the lies more clearly. If I am holy, how can I be depressed? The reason I'm depressed is because I'm not accepting that I'm holy. I'm not accepting the truth of who I am. I'm not accepting what comes with that. So then that's the work. Well, why am I thinking that I'm depressed? Look at all of the things that you believe are causing the depression. And little by little, acknowledge that you are in an environment that is giving you evidence of what you're believing within you. I'm depressed because I don't have a job. I'm depressed because my partner left me. I'm depressed because, I'm a teenager and my parents won't let me go out. Okay, so why are you there? You're there to learn the truth of who you are. You're there to do the work. And if you don't understand the work that needs to be done of training your mind, then you are unconscious, you're unaware. You're going to suffer because you want the lessons to be harder, as opposed to, oh, there's an irritation. It's an invitation. Let me see what I'm thinking. Let me see where this came from. Everybody is being met wherever they are. The further away from the truth we are, the darker it gets because we can barely see the light. Think of the mind. The ego mind is like a dimmer turning down the light. I had dimmers. I don't know if you guys have had dimmers in your house. Some of them are little sticks, some of them are little knobs. Some of them are little flip the toggle. And what we have the ability to do is to change our thoughts about who we are. And little by little, it's like turning up the knob. We can see a little bit, it gets a little brighter, and we begin to illuminate our mind and begin to remember more of the truth of who we are. Because until we can accept that we are holy, and so is everybody else, we cannot fully take control of our mind back. Our minds have been hijacked, our minds have been programmed. Again, not because it just happened to us by others. It's because we chose to incarnate and we chose to have those experiences, not to punish ourselves, but because we knew that we always had God inside of us and we could always come back home. It's like Dorothy. She had those red slippers. She could just go home anytime. As a matter of fact, she never left home. It was all a dream that she had. She was never in Oz. She was having a dream that she was there. That's what's happened to us. We're having a dream that we are not where we're supposed to be. All right. So I see. Let me look at this quick message here. Oh, you got to go to work. All right, sweet sister. Have a great day at work. Thank you for being with us. So if anybody wants to join the Academy, there are links in the description. By all means, join the Awareness Academy. And there are different levels of membership. There's a basic free for everybody. You can participate in the basic Course in Miracles classes that I teach. That's called a curiosity path. You're just kind of testing the waters. Or if you want to go a little deeper, then there's more. And if you want to go all the way and have all kinds of opportunities to do other classes and coach with me in those classes, then there's another level. But it's all based on your desire and your abilities. And I know that I want to share what I have available. And as long as I'm a body and I'm believing that I'm here and I have rent and got to buy food and got to go to the dentist, well, then that's why I have to charge for what I do. But I still give as much away as possible because uh, it's not mine, it's ours to share. I love you all so much. If anybody has anything you want to share, by all means, unmute yourselves. Otherwise, I will see some of you later for various reasons, or I'll see you in the academy. All right. And remember, the 10 characteristics of a teacher of God, those classes are coming up. So talk to you all later. Love you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, baby.
Bye. Thank you, sweetie.